We will now take a look at the practical application of handcuffs. We will show you the different variations to use handcuffs with chains or inflexible ones. To start with, we will show you the classical way to handcuff someone in a protected situation. For example, when dealing with a prisoner who is already in his cell. So we are not talking about direct force situation. Instead, we have a situation where my partner does not resist. We have different dangerous points here. It's a common mistake to only take one hand. Here, both hands please. And he only gives one hand. I put the handcuffs on. Take the other hand, and that's it. This is a big mistake. Do not do it like that. The right option would be like this. I talk to the person. Please come closer and take both hands to the front. Both, so I can see them. And now I don't stay here right in front of him, but move to the side. Now I can handcuff him. Bernd holds his hand perfectly here. And it's important to do it like that. One hand changes and the other leads it to the next hand. And now I must not forget to lock them. This is the classical handcuffing, both hands to the front. The important part was to move to the side in case he still tries to attack, so I can react quickly here. I would be directly in front of him, instead where he can work perfectly. And the second point is here. One hand holds onto the handcuffs all the time. I changed the hand here, and the other one follows, and when removing the handcuffs, it works exactly the other way around. With this classical variation, that you of course have seen in movies and everywhere, he can still move his hands pretty much. Both hands are here in front. I can grab something, I can clinch my opponent, I can work here, I can strike, I can run, I can even swim. It actually happened that someone crossed the Nibir River here while being handcuffed like that. This is the bad news about this variation, but still, it's fine for the normal use. Now I will show you a different kind of handcuffing, and I start like before. Both hands to the front please. Put the back of the hands together. Very good. And now I put the handcuffs on. Make sure you really have them on the wrists. And I always have one hand here to control him. If he tries something, I can still turn or pull here, even he still resists. Again, do not forget to lock them. If you don't lock them and the person falls on the wrist here, the handcuff will tighten up and cut off the blood circulation here. In this variation, the possibilities are very limited. He cannot grab anything here, just this way. That is very good in this variation. And another variation here. Again, I talk to the person. Both hands to the front. Grab the left wrist with the right hand. A little higher with the hand.
Ja? Bisschen höher, machen Sie hier ran, bisschen höher, genau. Jetzt habe ich die Möglichkeit, jetzt habe ich
Good.
beide
Now I
Hände
can work.
im
I
Visier.
can see
Ich bin
both of his hands
fertig.
and I move again to the
Lieber ist die
side. I
Möglichkeit,
can
dass ich
handcuff
beides
both
jetzt mal
hands now,
schließen kann
and a
und
person who
ein
grabs his own
Gegenüber, der
wrists
was
here
greift,
will not be able
der
to move as
reagiert nicht so
quickly as
schnell, der kann nicht so
normally.
schnell
He's
irgendwo
focused on grabbing in this
festfixiert
moment.
was zu greifen.
And
Lieber ist die
now I can
Möglichkeit,
handcuff
ich kann
both
beides
hands at
gleich eins
once,
machen,
and I stay
kann
on
hier
this
die Handfläche
variation.
anlegen,
Now, even if he lets go the wrist here,
genau,
his hands are still pointing in different directions.
genau.
It feels very
Hier kann man jetzt auch
uncomfortable to be handcuffed like
in
that.
dieser Variante stehen. Hierbei ist jetzt die Variante, die Arme bleiben so. Ja, du kannst die ruhig lösen oder sowas, aber du bist jetzt kreuzgefesselt. Also ist schon sehr, sehr unangenehm, so gefesselt zu sein. Ja. Wichtig ist, wie
The
gesagt,
important point again is
immer
always
amtieren
lock
der
them
Handfessel,
and check on which side the lock is.
oder
In this
Schließschloss
case, you
ist.
can lock
In
them
diesem
from
Fall
both
ist es von beiden
sides.
Seiten, da ist mir jetzt
This
sicher
makes
auch
this model very
für uns
practical for
komfortabel.
us.
Aber
But
es
you will
gibt auch
find some
Geräte,
kinds only
die haben
having a
so
lock on
Handfessel,
one
wo das
side.
Schließsystem nur auf einer Seite ist
And in
und
this case, I don't want to bend
und hierbei
forward
nicht. Und
here or
hier
down
kann
here to
Partner
find the lock. That would be very
rüber, wo ich
embarrassing.
das Schlüsselloch finde. Ja, es gibt nichts Peinliches. Ich möchte nochmal
I would
verdeutlichen,
like to point out something before moving on the next variation. You need to put the handcuff right on the wrist.
direkt zwischen Handgelenk, also Hand, Arm
You have
und
the
Gelenk.
hand
Genau hier
here
zwischen.
and the arm there,
Viele machen den
and you
Fehler,
go
setzen die
right
oben an, dann
here.
habe ich Spiel.
Many try to put them on here,
hier auch.
on the arm, and
Also
afterwards
wichtig,
they become
wirklich
loose. So really pay attention here and put them exactly on the wrist right between the hand and the hand bone.
Genau das gleiche, auch hier zwischen Hand und Handknochen. Genau hier sollte die Handfessel.
This is where it has to be. If I tighten it up here above, it can easily happen that the person slips out of the handcuffs.
Schon vorgekommen, dass man
But when they are here, especially with men who normally have a very well developed hand bone, they will not become loose. On the other hand, you need to check not to lock them too tight. There should not be space here, but make sure you don't hurt the person. We don't want to be accused of negligent bodily injury.
Er sitzt beim Richter oder irgendwo oder
Imagine him sitting in the court and the judge is asking what he did with his wrists. He answered that it comes from the handcuffs and I already get a charge for bodily injury. So we have to be really careful here.
Also lieber
It's better to be a little too careful than a little too rough.
einfühlsam, als irgendwie auf blauen Dunst die Sachen anzulegen. Anders ist es
Being in a dangerous situation and applying direct enforcement is another topic. But as long as the person is not resisting, we have all possibilities and enough time to lock the handcuffs well. You can already see here small marks, even though he had them on for a very short time and not tied at all. So imagine, if you tighten those handcuffs really tight, the wrist can be seriously damaged. And when they are not locked, and there's an impact on one side, wrist damaged. So please be careful.
Das heißt,
And now another technique.
beide Hände nach
Please hold your arms like that.
vorne, so übereinander.
And then I put the handcuffs on, while always having one hand here on the handcuffs.
Die andere, ich habe immer eine Hand an der Handfessel, auch hier den Wechsel.
And again the change here.
Bei der gleichen
And
Ebene
now I have the hands pointing in a different direction like before. But this time the arms are on the top of each other and not next to each other.
ich bin
Again, it is not possible for him to grab something or to act somehow. The possibilities are very limited. But in this case I have to take good care of him, because if he is falling, for example, he will not be able to protect himself. He will fall straight on his face. I could support him here to be able to help him just in case.
generell, wenn er schon ein bisschen
It is a very good option to handcuff someone who had been a little rebellious before, just in case.
geht natürlich auch noch
And now we will slightly vary this option. Again, I always have one hand here. I do not let go the handcuffs when taking them off. I don't want him to punch me here, and I get the handcuffs into my face and so on. So just don't let them go.
Immer eine Hand an der Handfessel beim Abmachen, ja, damit ich jederzeit dran bin. Okay.
So here is the last technique that we use on a standing person. We again talk to him. Both hands to the front, and now turn them like this.
Die Hände nach oben, genau.
Exactly, it's like before, with the back of the hands facing each other.
Dass die, wie
It
hier
is again a little more uncomfortable.
Dieses ist nochmal
And
unbequem.
then we put the handcuffs on. You see, that works just fine.
Ihr seht, es geht wie von selbst. Hier darauf zu achten, dass wirklich dies ist nochmal anders als so, sondern hier bin ich
This time he's even more limited than before, because his upper hand is also facing upwards. We will not put them on too tight here. We are in training mode, but it would work just fine how it is here. And now I lock them, but again, I don't bend forward here to search for the locking mechanism, but I have one hand holding the handcuffs and with the other I open the lock. And done.
öffne. Auch hier. Genau. Und raus. Das waren soweit
So now you've seen some possibilities to handcuff a person while standing.